Attorney Avila, let me turn to you now. What is the definition of a marginalized group? And legally speaking, how does Ang Ladlad fit into that? Because there are some people who have argued, again, I'm not saying I agree with them, but some people have argued that they're not a marginalized group. Some of the reasons have been rather flippant, but some have been quite serious. So perhaps we can address that. What does it say a marginalized group is? And in your opinion, and you're free to have any opinion you want, is Ang Ladlad representative of a marginalized group?
In the party list act, there's no clear-cut definition of a marginalized group. And they only give this by example, by enumerating the traditional sectors that are considered marginalized. But marginalization can be anything. It can be economic marginalization, it can be social marginalization. And I think it's the social aspect that has been recognized by the Supreme Court in this case.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so social marginalization, that then would qualify them to become, I mean, you agree with the Supreme Court's ruling?
Definitely, yes, I agree with the Supreme Court's ruling.
Okay, is there some way that someone who's against this could argue, or has the process been exhausted and there's no way that, that this can be reversed?
Well, it might be too late to reverse this, even if they allow a motion for reconsideration in this case. Mm-hmm. But there were also arguments made by Justice Corona, who gave a dissenting opinion in this case.
Okay.
So what
did he say?
Yeah, what did he say?
Well, he said in his dissenting opinion mainly that the party list act does not include the gay and lesbian sector as part of the marginalized group. Although there is a debate to this point, because the Constitutional Commission actually allows all sorts of sectors.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mean it doesn't explicitly call the gay, lesbian, the LGBT community marginalized, so that's the argument? Because they're not explicitly referred to?
Because they're not explicitly enumerated in the party list act. But I disagree with that point of view, and I think most of the Supreme Court disagrees with the opinion of Justice Corona.
Ms. Fontanos, let me ask you this, because so many people who are against the accreditation of Ang Ladlad, who are in general against the LGBT community, have used this idea of religion and morality as the basis for saying you should not be accredited. I know you've heard it many times, and I'm sure that there are people watching us now who agree with that, but perhaps you could argue against that tonight.
Yes, because I'm actually very happy about the Supreme Court decision because it points out the need to affirm secular morality in all government, in the conduct of governance. So that is the most important point that we want to emphasize here, that when it comes to governance, we only look towards secular morality. Morality can be defined by religion or by other frameworks, but at the end of the day, when it comes to governance, there's no necessary test of religion when it comes to seeking representation in Congress. And that's what made possible this decision for the Supreme Court to say that, yes, indeed, Ang Ladlad can run. And even if the LGBT community is not listed as one of the marginalized sectors in the Party List System Act, it says that other status, and anywhere you go, anywhere in the world, there are LGBT communities in every country, in every race, and in every culture. And there will be no need for a global movement fighting for the human rights of LGBT people if our sector were not marginalized in the first place.
All right, let's talk practical politics here. You're an accredited party list group. You're seeking a seat in Congress. We know this is a presidential election year. I'm wondering, because you've come in late in the game because of this late process by which you're accredited, have you considered, and are you open to allying yourself for practical purposes with one or the other of the presidential candidates just so you can get a sort of leg up in this election?
Actually, that's a very good question, and I think I'm the wrong person to ask. Maybe we should ask all the big political parties if they actually have a program for LGBT Filipinos in their platform of government.
Well,
I think there are. But the more important point is, yes, politically and strategically, it makes sense for a marginalized group to ally itself with a big political party that has the machinery, the capacity to run a national campaign. But but I think there's no political party that carries the LGBT agenda as yet. And until the LGBT issues are mainstreamed, where laws and policies are actually made for the LGBT community so that we don't need to run as a marginalized sector anymore, then we are open to that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
until that time comes, then we have to push for our own agenda as a community.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is none of the parties necessarily have an LGBT agenda, but they're not necessarily hostile to it. And for practical purposes, I would think, you know, if I were a political party, the LGBT community comprises, they say, about 10% at least of the any given population. That's a pretty good number.
I know. And that's why what we want to tell people now is that if you happen to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender, it's okay to support those big political parties. But do not forget that there is a marginalized party list representing your issues, your concerns, and your needs. And so they have to vote for us in the coming election as well.
Attorney Avila, what do you think of all of this? I mean, as I've argued, there are people who argue against this on a moral or religious issue. There are legal arguments, but do you think this is, on the whole, a positive thing that we've accredited Ang Ladlad?
Well, on the whole, it's a positive thing because any form of recognizing, trying to redress any form of discrimination is good for society as a whole. So even the beneficiality argument that was raised by the Commission on Election in its second decision in this case could be served by actually recognizing this group as a marginalized sector because this also helps them economically in an indirect way.
All right. On that note, Naomi Fontanos and Attorney Rudyard Avila, thank you to both of you for joining us tonight and expressing your views with us. And good luck to Ang Ladlad.
You're welcome, and thank you as well. Don't forget, we're number 89 in the ballot.
89, huh? Okay. Thanks again to both of you for coming tonight.